We are living in an age of distrust, in an era in which games development and distribution is driven by corporate greed, in which consumers are looking at the major release with skepticism rather than excitement, and in a time where no loot boxes was the most used phrase at E3 2018. Companies' PR departments are on full damage control. Ever since Bethesda released the very first microtransaction for Oblivion in form of a golden horse armor, publishers saw the potential of in-game purchases and pushed them to their limits. And here we stand. Electronic Arts could not resist taking the bite of the forbidden fruit, branded the term pay for power with their newest installment of Star Wars Battlefront.
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money.
This exploitation of consumer behavior quickly gained so much attention that countries like Belgium and the Netherlands declared loot boxes illegal and are now starting to enforce their removal by law. With microtransactions now being public enemy number one, some developers suffer more than others. While most AAA titles charge the consumer up front, already covering their costs with the initial purchase, one genre of games takes the complete opposite approach. The idea of releasing a game free-to-play may sound contradictory at first, given the company relying on the very thing to sustain itself that is now despised by players around the globe. However, with Epic Games' title Fortnite creating over $320 million in revenue within a single month, the idea of releasing a game without ever charging the player once seems to work out. But how do companies, which are so dependent on the well-being of their community, manage to stay afloat in times like these? When talking about free-to-play being done right, most players point towards digital extremes. Pressured by not getting picked up by a publisher, the developer of the sci-fi MMO Warframe chose to go with the payment model that seemed to be the most promising one, although the team not having any experience with it. The plan was as simple as risky: develop the foundation of what should become the beta phase and release founders packages for players to purchase. Being split up into 4 tiers, reaching from $20 to $250, every pack came with Platinum and the Forum badge associated with them, while only the highest 3 included prime versions of Excalibur, Lato and the Skana, arguably the most sought-after items in the entire game. To everyone's surprise, the first purchases came within hours after the reveal to the public, giving Digital Extremes the signal that there is a will to support the game. However, alongside the studio slowly being able to support itself, came the question of how to gain a foothold in later stages of development. Founder packages were not going to sell forever, and with the sale ending on the 1st of November 2013, it was time to go back to the drawing board. In discussion of a good monetization approach, developers at some point have to ask themselves the question: how much can we demand from our player base while keeping them happy and our team financially supported? This balancing act can prove to be more demanding than it may first appear, so competing companies usually stick to the most common implementation of microtransactions, the in-game shop. Offering exclusive items in exchange of premium currency, the system of implementing an in-game shop can be found in almost any MMORPG title, with even some of the oldest like RuneScape noticing its value and adding it in a later stage of development. Digital Extremes capitalized on the idea, making the so-called market an essential part of Warframe. Offering instant access to otherwise crafted weapons and frames that usually take hours or even days to complete, cosmetics as well as boosters, they stick to microtransactions that have proven viable in the past. Pair that up with a rushing system that lets you skip the waiting time upon putting an item into the forge, and you have Warframe's finished monetization model. Upon first inspection, this approach to free-to-play does not look too different when compared to other titles on the market, so why is Digital Extremes getting so much praise for a fair free-to-play game? The key factor lies in one of the core aspects of caring for a community: communication.
I didn't get to see the cosplay entirely, but I'm blown away.
Sheldon, we're doing a live stream, eh?
Dude,
you gotta...
Dude, I know you're addicted to Zelda. For the first time in history,
We are Canadians, and we are ready to live stream our first dev Q&A for the Warframe community.
Okay.
So,
We're early.
We are early. Well, I guess, 1 minute late, technically.
Digital Extremes has managed to pull off something that competitors strive to achieve. They created a bond between the company and the player. Watching their dev streams that occur every second week makes the team of Sheldon, Jeff, Rebecca, Steve and Scott likable. You know them by their first names and they do their streams as they please.
Sheldon could not make it, so instead we have Hydroid pretending to be Sheldon.
That includes beer, chatting, joking and just overall fun. As a viewer you get the impression that they are like buddies around the corner.
What is your Twitter address, Steve? That people should look up if they need to... SJM. It's SailorMars.
Openly acknowledging current problems, seeking the discussion with the community, they broke with a long-lasting industry standard. While most companies choose to only disclose information in form of patch notes, DE makes the player feel invested in the company, granting insight into the development process. When spending a bit of money on microtransactions, the user doesn't feel like they are supporting some investor from another country, but someone who they got to know and went through good and bad times. All of this can be summed up in the 106th installment of the Warframe dev stream. Most would refer to this moment as the prime example of how to communicate a new implementation of a microtransaction.
What do you want? Do you want a pack with everything bundled together, or do you want separate accessories packs per Warframe? So do you want, for example, a single accessories pack for Ember, Loki, and Frost in this case, or one giant accessories pack? Second question is sort of price points. If you guys are buying a vaulted accessories pack, is it the $25, $30, or $35 range that you're looking for such a thing? Obviously, that depends on what goes in it, clearly. And then the last one, of course, is what to bundle with it. Do you just want the accessories, or do you want some added bonuses? Platinum, boosters, stuff to say. You have a whole bunch of options to work with because you know how our sort of bundling works with the prime accessories.
Sounds good. Mm-hmm. The guess is cheapest with the most.
I was going to say.
Making $25.
I want everything for the lowest price possible.
Yeah, sounds great.
Digital Extremes understands what many companies fail to recognize. It's not the microtransaction that makes the player unhappy, but the reasoning behind its implementation. When Rebecca openly addressed their plans to bring back paid accessories, they don't set the user in front of a final decision that they can revolt against on Reddit, but a choice to take part in shaping said content. This openness further improves the bond between the company and the player, and an invaluable factor is formed: trust. While communication may not be the sole reason of the game's success, it's the openness and willingness to grant insight into what's going on behind the curtains, as well as actively getting in touch with the player, that keeps the community happy and supportive of what's to come.
Good night.
That's it.
Thank you so
That's
much for
all for
coming.
it.
We
Bye,
love you.
everyone.
We love you so much.
Did I miss?
We owe you everything.
This is the point where most analyses stop. Communication and primarily cosmetic-only microtransactions as part of a fair monetization model. Case closed. However, there's a way more subtle system in place that balances the accessibility of premium content, a secondary market. Upon entering Maru's Bazaar or a dojo of your choice, the player is introduced to the trading part of Warframe. While such a system is nothing special and usually a core part of most MMORPGs, it serves a much greater purpose here.
Invest more credits. The void rewards fate.
DE grants the player the ability to trade their premium currency, Platinum, with others. Putting it in circulation, they found a way to provide it for those willing to grind and to make newer items more accessible for those with little time on their hands. That includes the trade of Prime Warframes, weapons and Sentinels, even if they have just recently seen their implementation into the game. You could, for example, purchase the Prime Access Pack for €75 to get Chroma, Gram and Rubico Prime, or go to a third-party website like Warframe.market, message a seller of your choice and pay him with your already existing Platinum. On the flip side, Digital Extremes allows the player to farm Prime parts and sell them, thus enabling getting premium content without ever having to spend a single dime. Just like Guild Wars 2's exchange system, controlling the inflation and circulation of premium currency, trading in Warframe is the backbone of how this house of cards doesn't fall together. Not only that, but it's why it works so well. This way, a release of new microtransactions does not anger the player because he doesn't need to look at his credit card, but at the monitor and gameplay in front of him to acquire it. In addition to that, there are plenty other systems one could mention. For example, random platinum discounts of up to 75% for a daily login, taking the highest pack of platinum down from 180 euros all the way to only 45. Or giving the players tools to customize their Warframe and weapons with colors and accessories of their choice for free, thus making purchase skins purely optional, while other games like Black Desert Online design their regular armors as dull as possible, forcing the player to consider paying up for additional skins. All that adds up to what the community considers fair free-to-play. While Digital Extremes does include methods that feel forced upon, they balance it out by giving the player options to acquire their premium content for free, as well as being vocal about their changes. Current development of big video game titles has gone into the direction of paying upfront and being expected to pay extra later down the line, further supporting the disconnect between player base and developer. The problem here lies not within companies wanting to make profit, but rather in their approach to monetization and them being driven by the need to increase their profits with every single release. Stagnating numbers or just managing a successful game doesn't satisfy the investors anymore. Digital Extremes shows how to manage a fair free-to-play model, keeping the player base happy and supportive of their developers' decisions. What started out as a necessity to keep a company alive turned into a more than 5-year adventure that is far from reaching its final destination yet.